Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head down to Germany and we're going to return to a brewery who I haven't had anything from in about 2.5 years when I think about it, which is, too long actually. But the last beer that I had from these guys, and thus far the only beer that I've reviewed from this brewery on the channel, was actually a collaboration IPA that they did with Sierra Nevada from over in America. That was really nice, so I'm curious to see what this beer has in store for us, because it is a more kind of traditional German beer actually. And if you've watched the channel before, you will know that I'm a huge fan of my traditional German beers. My love of beer started with the Bamberg Rauch beers, then it kind of evolved into the Helles, the Dunkels and the Doppelbocks and things like that from there. But for this review then, we are going to go to Augsburg in Bavaria, in Bayern. Out to the west of Munich and kind of to the east of Freiburg am Breisgau in Baden-Württemberg, so kind of in the middle of those two cities. And we're going to have a look at my second beer from Brauhaus Riegele. So this one is the Speziator, Dunkel und Stark, and it comes in at 7.5% ABV. So we got this beer here in Sweden as part of one of the Tillfälligt sortiments in Systembolaget in February of 2020. I forget exactly what date it was that this one appeared, but when I bought it I actually thought it was a Dunkel Lager, and it was only when I was preparing to make this video that I realised that it was a Doppelbock, which is obviously even better. So yeah, really curious to see what this one has in store for us. I enjoyed the Sierra Nevada collaboration IPA that I had with them before, so it will be cool to try something that is a little bit more kind of traditional and German, if you like. So yeah, a very well respected brewery this one, and hopefully I can review some more of their beers for you at some point over the next little while. I definitely don't want to leave it another 2.5 years. I always enjoy my traditional German beer reviews, and I hope that you guys watching enjoy them as well. So yeah, let's just see how we get on with this one then. A Doppelbock coming in at 7.5% ABV, one of my favourite German beer styles. So yeah, let's see how we go with this one then. So as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Brauhaus Riegele before. Hopefully I can add some more in the near future, as I said. There's all the usual social media down there as well. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the German beers that I've reviewed for you. That's being added to whenever I get the opportunity, which is fairly regularly, but not as regularly as I would like, of course. But as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Riegele Brauhaus then, or Brauhaus Riegele. So the Riegele Brauhaus, as I've mentioned to you already, are from Augsburg in Bavaria, out to the west of Munich and to the east of Freiburg am Breisgau in Baden-Württemberg. But this brewery has existed in its current form since the year 1884, when Sebastian Riegele acquired the Zum Goldenen Rostbrauerei. So this brewery can actually trace its roots though back to the year 1386, when it was first run by the Schmidt family and their descendants, and it kind of continued with them for a few hundred years, but the name changed at various points due to the daughters marrying other people basically. So the name of this brewery changed to Meyer, Geyer, Greyer, Hildbrandt, Müller, Behem, Wiedemann and also Degmeyer at one point, due to the various marriages that took place. In 1717 though, Regina Degmeyer sold the brewery to the Heinzelmann family from Leutkirch, and it stayed with them for 2 generations before being sold to Sebastian Boyle in 1786, and his family held the brewery for 4 generations before the sale to the Riegele family in 1884. In 1911 the brewery constructed the Riegele House in Königsplatz in Augsburg, along with another building outside of the city, which is where I understand the beer was brewed for the most part. But the Riegele house contains the original beer hall for the brewery, and it's now a protected monument for the city of Augsburg. But the brewery has passed down the Riegele family for 6 generations now, and today it's jointly run by father and son, Dr. Sebastian Priller and Sebastian Priller Riegele. So yeah, as is the case with many German breweries, this is basically a family business that's passed all the way down the generations. As of March 2020, when I'm filming this review for you, according to Untappd, they've produced around 60 different types of beer. But you know, Untappd didn't exist back in the 1300s or whatever, so I'm sure there's been a lot more beers produced by this brewery than that. So yeah, an interesting brewery, this one. Another German brewery that has a hell of a history behind it, and you know, that's not uncommon. There are so many of the breweries, and indeed generally companies in Germany tend to have been family owned and passed down the various generations actually. So yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Brauhaus Riegele for the moment. I would like to get to Augsburg actually and take a look at it. I've not explored Bavaria too much. I mean, I've been to Bamberg, I've been to Nuremberg and Munich of course as well, but I would love to go and explore the smaller places around around Bavaria at some point. That's something that I would absolutely love to do, you know, just take a car and you know, drive around a little bit. I really enjoyed my time in Heidelberg when I lived in Germany, so it would be cool to go back there and explore it a little bit more and see some of the more random places. But yeah, really one of my favourite countries in the world, Germany, and Augsburg is definitely one of the places that I think I still need to go. I know that if you want a more kind of craft beer take, Augsburg is also home to Frau Gruber Brewing Company if you want some of the more American IPAs and things like that, but you've also got some very good traditional breweries there as well. It's a very exciting time for beer in Germany actually, because of all these new craft breweries that are popping up, and these German trained brewers who are obviously very good at their craft are starting to have a go at the more American styles of beer as well. So lots of stuff going on in Germany at the moment. But yeah, as I say, that's all you need to know about Brauhaus Riegele. If you want to learn more, of course, check out the brewery website in the description below. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on. And of course, if you want to know more about the different beers that they do, you can check out the brewery website first off, but you can look at the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to take a closer look at that. So yeah, let's get on and actually have a little taste of this beer then. So as you can see, the artwork on this one is very traditionally German. I've noticed one of the things with German beers is that when they export them, this is when they tend to put the foil caps on them to make them look a little bit more kind of special and things like that. So I wouldn't be surprised that if you found this beer in Germany that it didn't have this sort of foil cap on it. I have noticed that this tends to be a thing that's more common with the export versions of the beer. But yeah, it talks here about this one has over 19 Plato Stammwürze, which is, I think that's original gravity if you translate it. But this is a wonderful malty, dark, strong beer, not for the fasting period. So yeah, this is one that you don't want to have when you're doing your Lent or whatever, if you're still into your Christianity. They're still quite into that in Germany, not really up here in Scandinavia or back home in Scotland, I have to say either. But yeah, nicely presented beer, this one, very traditional and German in its appearance. I do like the traditional German labels, I have to say. There you can see there's a little bit of a drawing of the Riegele house and the Augsburg Hauptstadt. And yeah, plain bottle cap on this. So without further ado, let's get it out and we will get on with the tasting then. I'm really curious to see what we have in store now. So yeah, get it out and into the glass. So yeah, one thing I will say is I could have drunk this beer in, I've got a little 330 milliliter Stein from Mikkeller, but I don't know what it is. I mean, with Doppelbocks, I don't really like drinking them out of Steins. I mean, if you go to Germany and ask for one, when I was at Weinstefan, I had the Carbinian in one of these big half-litre Steins, and I just didn't like it. I mean, for me, the Doppelbock, it's more of a sipper beer. I mean, the Doppelbocks it is a lager beer, it's just a strong lager beer. But to me, I just think I prefer it in the tulip glass, to be honest, because it is more of a sipper for me than the Helles or the Dunkel is. I would drink those out of a Stein. Obviously, I do like these. For me, my favourite glass is a tulip glass. You probably know this if you've watched my channel for any length of time. The tulip glass is the best all-round glass, but I know Germans can get a little bit sort of worked up about the glassware that you drink your beer out of, but I personally like this. This is a good beer. This is a good glass to drink pretty much any style out of, actually. But yeah, as you can see with this one then, the Speziator, it's poured a lovely dark. It looks, to the camera and you guys, it will look like a very dark kind of rosewoody, ebony kind of colour, but if you shine the light through this one, it's got a very dark kind of ruby quality to it. There's about a quarter finger of a frothy fawn coloured head, which is very, very nice, and that's fading away just to be a very thin foamy layer. You can see there's one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass here, but you can see there's quite a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of that foamy head there. But overall, it does look very, very nice actually, and pretty much what you would expect from a Doppelbock. Some of them can be a little bit more light and mahogany in terms of their colour, but this one really is a lot more kind of rosewoody probably more rosewoody and ebony-like in its appearance. But of course that's down to two different things. It's down to what types of malts that they use, and it's also down to the length of boil that they do with the beer, of course. So yeah, lovely looking beer this. Let's have a closer look at the aroma then and just see how we get on with this one. Yeah, so straight away with this beer, you smell that lovely, big, highly caramelised brown sugar there. And the thing, of course, that happens when you have a longer boil, as I suspect is the case with this beer, the sugars caramelise a little bit more in the sugars caramelise a little bit more in the boil, and just get bigger and thicker and things like that, and it makes them darker, of course, in terms of appearance. But yeah, you can tell that straight away with this beer. This one's got a lovely sort of treacly molasses type quality to it as well. You can really smell that the sugars are quite well toasted in this one, which is, it's lovely actually. So lovely big kind of treacly quality in there. You can pick up some nice woodiness as well. Some lighter biscuity notes. I do get a bit of that lighter, sweeter caramel, and also a little bit of a biscuity quality as well, which is nice. Some lovely, as I say, some nice woody notes in there. I don't get so much in the way of biscuit, but you can smell that lovely kind of German brown bready quality in there. As I've told you in many of these German reviews that I've done over the years, one of the things that I really miss about Germany is the bakeries. You know, the German bread is some of the best in the world, if not the best. German bakeries are excellent. It's quite funny when you go over to Japan and you see these bakeries making bread in the German style. But yeah, it really has that lovely kind of German brown bready, rye bready type quality to it, the malt base of this. Like I say, lots of treacly, molassesy type brown sugars in there, some sweeter caramel, a little bit of an almost nutty quality to this one as well. Lovely woody notes, and a lot of big just malty sweetness there. The malt base of this beer is really nice. Compared to other Doppelbocks that I've come across, I would say that the brown sugars in this one are a little bit darker and more oily in my mind. But I really like what this beer has going on for it. It's really a very nice example of the Doppelbock style in terms of its appearance. So yeah, lovely stuff. Take a bit of time and just enjoy the aroma here. The malt base has everything you would want from this style, but a darker example compared to some of the other ones I've come across. In terms of the hoppiness, you have a little bit of that typical noble earthiness to the beer. A little bit of there's not really much in the way of floral character to this one, but you get some nice grassiness in there as well. And the fruity notes, I would say that it's quite there's a little bit of a kind of raisiny, figgy note to this one. You've got a wee bit of a kind of you really have a little bit of a nice kind of blackcurranty, blackberry sort of thing to this beer as well, but that comes out a little bit more in the aftertaste. A sort of figgy note is the main kind of descriptor that I would give you for this one actually. Lovely dark kind of fruits. There's maybe a little touch of cakey quality to this beer as well. And most likely with this one, it will be Northern Brewer hops they're using it. It's a very popular hop to use for Doppelbocks these days. So yeah, take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it, but we're going to have a taste of this one now and see how we get on. So this one is the Speziator, a Doppelbock coming in at 7.5% from Brauhaus Riegele in Augsburg in Bayern, Bavaria in the south of Germany. Let's get stuck into this one. Slàinte, skål, prost. Yeah, again, it's just a lovely beer. But I mean, as I always say, I'm a bit biased with these Doppelbocks. You know, it is just generally one of my favourite styles of beer. Scotch ales, Doppelbocks, quadruples. You know, I really love the big dark malty beers, and this one just ticks a lot of the boxes for me. So big thumbs up to Brauhaus Riegele for this one. They've pulled off a really nice beer here in my mind. So yeah, where to start with this one? So yeah, in the middle of your palate then, you can feel that nice kind of brown bready German malt base there, just blanketing the middle of your tongue. But to me, this is one of the more oily German beers that I've come across. Actually, it's quite unusual in that sense, because normally you get a bigger kind of bready quality out of this one, but I mean, this is, when I think about it, this is probably one of the darker Doppelbocks that I've had in terms of its colour, and it really, that obviously is reflected in the mouthfeel and things as well, because of the you know, because of the caramelisation of the sugars. It gives you this big, lovely, oily quality too, which is interesting. So yeah, you know, as you go further into the aftertaste with this one, it takes your mouth a wee bit of time to adjust to it, but you've got that lovely brown bready German malt base to this beer, and that just kind of sits there. But as you go further, that blankets the middle of your tongue. But then, if you go to the front corners of your palate and move in a little bit, you'll start to notice some of the woody elements there. If you go to the very centre of your tongue and move forward, you can pick out a few sort of nutty flavours to this beer as well, which is really interesting. And there's a lot of subtleties to this one, I have to say. I really like that about it. If you go to the back corners of the palate too, there are a few kind of woody notes in there, but in the very centre of your tongue, that's where you've got the big oily brown sugary notes in there. It's got a lovely kind of treacly molasses quality to it, this beer. As I was saying, the brown sugars in this beer are obviously very highly caramelised, but if you go right to the centre of your tongue, it's got a lovely kind of sweeter edge to it, which is great. But generally speaking, pardon me, the brown sugars in this beer are very dark and very, very thick. It's giving me a little bit of gas as well, but there's not even really that much kind of carbonation coming out of this one, but it really is a very thick kind of beast of a beer, this. It's quite highly rated. I mean, this is a good one. If they're wanting to bring Doppelbocks into Systembolaget, this is certainly a very good example to bring over, actually. So yeah, in the very centre of your palate, you get that. Oh, took some of that down the wrong way. But yeah, in the centre of your palate, you definitely get a bit of that lighter, kind of sweeter caramel, but then as you move out from the centre of the palate, it definitely gets a little bit lighter and more biscuity, if you like. But underneath that, that's when you really get that very dark, treacly molasses sort of thing in there too. But the woody and nutty notes, they come out a little bit further forward on the palate too. But to me, this is quite an oily tasting Doppelbock, actually. It feels a little bit cleaner than some of the other ones that I remember having. This one doesn't quite sit on the tongue in the same way almost when I think about some of the other examples, but the flavour of it is absolutely beautiful, I have to say. So as I said earlier, big thumbs up to to Brauhaus Riegele for this beer. I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink it again, but as I always say with the likes of quads and tripels and things like that, for me a Doppelbock is a bit of a treat. It's not a sessionable beer by any stretch of the imagination. So yeah, in terms of the hoppy side of the beer then, back corners of the palate you've got a little bit of earthiness kind of sitting there, and it's quite a light sort of German noble earthiness. As you move further forward along the sides of the palate, that smoothens out. You get a nice little bit of a floral aromaticity on the front corners of the palate, but again it's quite light because it's obviously German noble hops. It's nowhere near what you're going to get from the likes of an IPA or anything like that. But then round the very front curve of the tongue you've got that nice lighter kind of grassy quality there, and then behind the front curve of the palate, that's where you get the kind of oily bubble pushing its way, pushing all these fruity esters out of the flavour, and this is where the beer gets pretty interesting, I have to say. So yeah, in terms of the fruity side of things, generally speaking I would say that the fruity part of the beer, it's quite figgy in the beginning, but you do start to get a bit more of a kind of juicy, there's a sort of datey, there is a kind of datey quality to this one, and if you go just behind that fruity part of the palate, you do get an element of a kind of cakey flavour. It's almost like the kind of, if you have a slightly toasty or burnt part of a chocolate cake or something like this. And I've seen a lot of people like to describe Doppelbocks as being chocolatey, but I really would not describe a Doppelbock as that. It's brown sugar. Doppelbocks to me do not taste chocolatey, it's all about the brown sugar. But yeah, as you kind of come further forward on the palate there, at the very edge of the more malty part, you get this bit of a cakey note, and then it moves in to the fruity side of things. So like I said, you've got a nice kind of figgy sweetness to it, you've got a bit of a datey kind of quality there as well, and some cakey notes, but then as you move right towards the front of the palate, that's when you start to get a bit of a blackcurranty, blackberry-ish type quality, and those are what kind of stick there as you go further into the aftertaste too. I mean, you can see this is, as I say, why I don't want to drink a Doppelbock out of one of the big steins, because you take massive gulps of it, but to me the Doppelbock is definitely a sipper beer rather than a sessionable one like the Dunkels or the Helles and things. But yeah, I will say straight away that this is just a beautiful example of the style. It's definitely one of the darker, more treacly ones that I've come across. Not the sweetest of Doppelbocks, right enough, if you compare it to the likes of the Salvator or the Maximator or the Celebrator, the Anger Celebrator and stuff like that, or the Assambock from Weltenberg as well. And this is definitely one of the darker ones that I've come across. But this is what I like about trying these beers from different breweries. You always get little different nuances and things like this from them. So this is, if you like a kind of treacly molasses type thing, this is one that you are definitely going to enjoy. So yeah, a beautiful example of the style actually, and quite different from the other ones I've had previously. So yeah, in terms of the mouthfeel then, definitely a full-bodied beer. Carbonation is very smooth in this one. I would say that the mouthfeel overall is big and oily. It is one of the most oily Doppelbocks that I can think that I've tried. In terms of the hoppy bitterness, I would say, I think you're talking maybe about 20-ish, 25-ish IBUs with this one. It's not going to blow the head off you in terms of that. The malt base has a little bit of breadiness to it, but overall it's quite a big oily sweetness. You do get a little bit of almost bitterness out of the malt base because of how big and roasty and oily these brown sugars are. But you've got some lovely, slightly oily, fruity qualities to it as well. But it does get a little bit juicier the further you go into the aftertaste. So yeah, I really like this one. I wouldn't hesitate to drink this again, but I think this is definitely a sort of treat winter dessert kind of beer, this, rather than anything else. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. This one is the Speziator Dunkel und Stark, a 7.5% Doppelbock, definitely one of the darker ones that I've had in this category before, from Brauhaus Riegele in Augsburg, Bavaria, Bayern. in Germany, in the south of the country. So yeah, let's leave it at that. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Brauhaus Riegele as well, and hopefully we can return to these guys fairly soon. I don't want to leave it another 2.5 years before I can review another beer from them. But thank you again for watching, and I will catch you guys later. The Speziator Doppelbock from Brauhaus Riegele in Augsburg, Bavaria, Germany. Slange, Skål, Prost.